All right, so the last topic,
3 references.
The last thing I want to talk about today is a certain filmmaker and his movies and what they mean to us and the experiences we've had watching his movies.
Ron Jeremy.
The Hedgehog.
Is John Hughes, because he was a big name. He was like probably the biggest name in film in the 80s, I would say. And maybe not the biggest, but the most recurring name. He had a lot of fucking movies in that time.
Main reason why my dad is the person he is now.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Yeah, Trump supporter who lives in Florida.
John Hughes, vote Trump.
But so the thing like I want to talk about is sort of like what his movies mean to you, because I was raised by my mom who loves like all of his movies. Like I think Pretty in Pink might be her favorite movie of all time. So having like a parent who was in love with John Hughes movies, like from a young age, like I was sort of shown that, like even Breakfast Club, which I probably shouldn't have watched at the age that I watched it, specifically where the part where bad boy fucking what's his name,
because it's bad
Emilio,
boy for life.
is that Emilio Estevez, or no, he plays the I think he plays the jock.
Yeah, he plays the jock.
Wrestling
Wrestling star.
Who plays the fucking like the long-haired fucking punk guy,
Bender. I forget his name.
Name is the character's name is Bender.
I forget
but
his name in
the
real
scene
life.
where he's talking about like, let's knock up the cheerleader and shit. Like they had to like mute that part for when I was watching it the first time, because
How
I was
would
like,
you understand what knock up means?
this was around the time that they also had me watch Jay and Silent Bob Strikes Back, and it got to the part where they're in the fucking they're in the restaurant and she comes in and like Jay is like has like the cup over his dick and he's like humping it, and they straight up just had to turn off the movie. They're like, oh god, what have we done?
I have a weird love-hate relationship with John Hughes movies, because I do like
I'm gonna
him,
look
and
up
I
his
think-
work so we can get better reference on what else he's done, because he's done a lot.
Yeah,
Just
and
look
I
up
think,
anything with John Cusack.
and I think he's like a big part of like movies and shit, and especially for the time and stuff. But there's something about John Hughes movies that annoy the shit out of me. Like I think the main thing is like the beginning of Breakfast Club with the David Bowie quote and like the Stone Cold Steve Austin breaking of the glass noise. That is just like it's just annoying.
They all kind of feel like if Clueless was set in the 80s.
Like it's like the 80s movies of like another teenage movie or something, like just like these parodies of like what life
And that's just because
was.
we didn't, but also we
don't
didn't live during that time.
Yeah, I
Like
wasn't
we were
there.
saying,
I don't fucking know.
Like sort of like the rock and roll topic is like we weren't there in that time, so probably when that movie first came out, like people who first saw that for the first time were like, whoa, what the fuck is this shit about, you know? And now because we were raised in such a parody fucking enforced like era of movies of like let's make fun of everything, is like when we watch the actual source material, it's like, oh, yeah, I get that.
And again,
And in and of itself, it becomes cheesy.
And again, I'm like, I can be like one of the whiniest motherfuckers in the world, and that's also me just being like a bitch about it and trying to find something to complain. To be honest, but I do enjoy a lot of his movies.
He did a lot of movies I didn't even know that he did.
Weird
like
Science.
Mr. Mom, National Lampoon's Vacation. He did the original Vacation movie. He did 16 Candles, Breakfast Club, Weird Science, Pretty in Pink,
License to Drive,
Ferris Bueller's Day Off,
From my heart and
Planes,
from my
Trains, and
hands.
Automobiles.
Really? That was him?
Yeah, that was him.
that makes sense. It had the guy from Uncle Buck.
Yeah, he also did Uncle Buck. Christmas Vacation, which is fucking hilarious. Christmas Vacation, I think, is my favorite vacation movie.
I never got into those.
What? Oh my god, the first one is really good.
I'm not trying to talk shit on those movies because I know a lot of people like them, but I can honestly give two shits about those movies. I don't know why.
And he also did
I want to like them because everybody likes them, but I don't like them.
I would say his last like big hit would be Home Alone, which was 1990.
Alone.
I mean, like Home Alone. He also did like the other Home Alone movies, but those sort of suck.
I love the first
He
two
also
Home
did
Alone movies
the
a lot.
original
I've never seen any
Beethoven
of them.
movie. We saw a dog on the this morning.
Sorry,
Who looks-
say that again?
He also wrote the original Beethoven movie.
Really?
Yeah.
What about Beethoven's Fifth?
Let me see. Let me go down.
Finger touch.
Oh, you know what else he wrote? No, this is the last big thing that he did. Flubber.
I I don't like that
It's
movie.
what? It's Robin
I
Williams.
don't like that
Yeah,
movie.
and half of Robin Williams' movies are awful.
No, they're great. They're all
You want to
fucking
see my
great.
impression of a hot dog? Oh.
Fucking Duel.
But Henry, so like, what has your relationship been with like John Hughes movies, and are there any that like you actually like?
I mean, the only two I've seen are Ferris Bueller and Planes, Trains, and Automobiles.
What do you say?
Not Breakfast Club.
Like, to me, the problem is that we live in this world where, like, so many people idolize these movies, and it's like you just always hear about, like, man, I wish we lived in, like, a John Hughes movie. Like, you know, Those Girls in High School.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which was almost every girl that we knew because we were in the drama club.
Yeah.
Love you.
Why can't I have a boyfriend who's like John Cusack and say anything, who stands outside of my house and bless Peter Gabriel? Shock the monkey!
Because a real man stands outside of your house holding a speaker,
Playing
blasting-
Genesis.
playing acid bath.
Throws the stereo.
But I'm trying to think
And that's
of
the cool thing about like specifically 16 Candles and Pretty in Pink is that those are very much romantic comedies, but they don't.
she's a jazz singer now.
Who, Molly Ringwald? Interesting.
Molly Ringwald still sounds like a disease. Got the old Molly Ringwald.
Ringworm.
And
but
Molly.
but
two
those are
movies.
very like romantic sort of girl movies, but they're also just really funny, like in and of like the jokes that they have and the way he.
Oh, sexy girlfriend.
Friend. Oh my god, that is
That
the
dude
most
kills me.
racist depiction of a fucking Asian person.
They're so perky.
It was a simpler time where they can make jokes like that.
I
still. It
know,
was just-
and people wouldn't get fucking offended.
I forgot what I was watching the other day.
Do you know about the whole Ghost in the
Ghost in the Shell.
Ghost in the Shell thing, where people are pissed that
Scarlett Johansson.
Scarlett Johansson is playing the lead character in
An anime adaptation.
in a movie adaptation of an anime. People are pissed about that, even though almost every Asian person I know is like,
I don't know.
who
Like,
cares?
I really.
Except this one person who I had her watch. Max Landis' thoughts. You should watch that video of his whole thoughts because he just fucking spells it out for you, and it's like, all right.
See, when it comes to shit like that with anime, like I can get really into anime sometimes, but when it comes to
Like I
shit
told
like
Alex
that, it's just
O'Neill,
like, I don't want.
like I told Alex O'Neill last night, the best anime is the Digimon movie. There you go.
It's been
1 week since you looked at me. Dude, the soundtrack to that fucking movie is awesome.
The
right
best
about now. The
That-
funk soul brother.
And it also has that Less Than Jake song in it too.
I love
one?
Less Than Jake.
wait.
All my best friends are metalheads.
Oh wait,
Less
they're
than
all the
Jake.
same song.
Less Than Jake is that one band that like it's gonna make me happy no matter what. Like if it just if it just plays in the background. I
Ska
really-
music is the last breath of rock and roll.
Anyway, back to John Hughes.
Yeah.
But like 16 Candles and Pretty in Pink, like they just have funny fucking moments. Like the nerdy kid in 16 Candles who ends up being like the reporter guy in the Dark Knight, which is so fucking weird to think about. The nerdy kid who's like constantly trying to pick up Molly Ringwald was so fucking funny, and like everything he did to try to be cool was just hilarious.
That dude's like he's the reason why Weird Science was my favorite one.
Yeah.
is because like his character.
It
in
was
Weird Science
more focused on him because
Yeah.
in those other movies, he's more of a side character, with the exception of I would say The Breakfast Club is more of an ensemble piece than it is just based on Molly Ringwald.
because chicks can't dig the smoke.
John Hughes movies do age a lot better than like other comedies from the 80s.
And
because it's
a lot of things from the 80s, to be honest.
Because, like, I mean, John Hughes didn't write that scene in Revenge of the Nerds. It's pretty much a rape scene.
Yep.
And also John Hughes movies have like that typical thing where it's just like high school, like cliques and bully, like
High school never
somewhat
ends.
like somewhat relatable to like every generation.
Yeah,
Because there's
exactly.
always some type of clique, no matter
Exactly.
what it is.
John Hughes. Dun, 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 dun.
But I honestly think out of all of these, like I love like I love 16 Candles, I love Breakfast Club, I love Pretty in Pink.
see those.
I love Weird Science, but I'd say still out of all of those, the one that I love the most is Ferris Bueller's Day Off. I think that is the best one because that it doesn't focus more. It focuses less on the whole high school dynamic aspect and focuses more on like having to deal with becoming an adult and like seeing like two very different people deal with those things, of how like Ferris is very like sort of, he's gonna breeze through life, and then you have the other side, which is Cameron, who's very like, people like to say the saying like we all want when we were kids we all wanted to grow up to be SpongeBob, but we all ended up being Squidward. Well, the thing was, before that we all wanted to grow up to be Ferris, but we ended up being Cameron.
My favorite is we all grew up wanting to be David Bowie, but we all ended up Billy Joel. Just the uncle.
Also,
who's ready for some rock and roll.
I just saw that John Hughes wrote Drillbit Taylor. No,
his best movie.
I remember they had a Drillbit Taylor was so fucking advertised to the point they had fucking advertisements for Drillbit Taylor in our school, in my middle school.
What?
I know.
Fuck
it's the
that
weirdest
movie.
fucking weird.
That movie sucks.
Am I?
And that was the last
For some
thing he
reason,
did
I'm getting
before
it confused with Joe Dirt.
Before he died.
Yeah.
Hey, Joe Dirt's fucking awesome.
So yeah, like Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
They didn't need to make a second one, but the first one's fucking awesome.
But I think Ferris Bueller's Day Off is like the perfect one for everybody, because it's just like, I want to do shit like that. I want to be that person. I want to have balls to do that type of shit.
But then it also like it deals with like sort of the pessimistic side of like becoming an adult, and it does it really well. And just like also the funny scenes, like it's smart of like telling a story of like how people deal with like sort of moving on and going into the next step of their life. But there's also just really fucking funny scenes in that movie, like where they go to the fancy restaurant and he's like talking to the waiter on like another phone, and he's like and then also like when they're talking to the principal on the phone, and it's like he's doing like the dad voice and stuff. It's fucking hilarious.
Or Everybody Loves Francis. The geeks, the freaks, the metalheads.
The big thing for me with Ferris Bueller's Day Off was the kicking of the Ferrari and the standing up to your parent.
Yeah,
that was the part
like
for me.
that was a great fucking moment.
My favorite scene in that movie is the scene of Cameron looking at the Seurat painting and just staring at the dots.
Yeah.
Yep.
Just the character of Cameron in general, especially with like when he finally like the Ferrari finally like goes out the window and stuff, and he's like finally like just like fuck it, because like me coming from like an all
that must have been very impressionable, like
Catholic family,
impressionable on you,
super religious Catholic family, and like kind of just
family?
Like family.
The hell's a family, fam?
Coming from a all Latin super religious Catholic family, and getting to, and kind of like seeing that and being like, yeah, fuck this shit. Like I'm gonna be my own fucking person.
Yep.
You've heard the theory about Ferris Bueller.
Let my Cameron go,
that
motherfucker.
Cameron that Ferris isn't real, and
it's
Cameron,
all like an idea of Cameron of like what it feels like to be free.
Yep.
What do you feel about that?
I think it's okay.
See the movie as you will.
Yeah, see the movie as you want. It's
an art form.
So, but I see it as everybody's real. Like that. If you want to make that theory, but that's obviously not the story or the message that John Hughes was going for. So,
my favorite John Hughes movie has got to be Planes, Trains, and Automobiles.
Because it's not the other one you watched.
It's not Ferris Bueller.
Because it's
not the one.
Because
other
it's
movie.
when Steve Martin was really funny.
Yeah,
Steve Martin, I think, is very underrated. I don't think people see him as like what he really is.
Isn't he like a musician now?
Yeah, he plays the banjo, and he's really actually fucking good at it.
Yeah,
yeah.
He played on like a late night show like a couple months ago, and I was like, oh shit, he's actually pretty good.
I think I saw a video of him playing with Boz Scaggs.
Like I just hate it because it's like kind of like our generation that like aren't us, who are super into movies and stuff, and like the generation now, like when they think of him, they think like Pink Panther or something. They've never really got to experience like
The Jerk.
Yeah.
It always comes down to The Jerk.
Yeah.
I was born a poor black child.
But like, kind of like him as an actual fucking actor and like an artist. And you always think of like the shitty side of him and just like nonsense.
And like you think of him as like how I imagine kids see John Cleese after he started being in like Casper.
Which like I wouldn't have been able to appreciate him if it wasn't for Miss Wallenta, who kind of like sat me down and was just
drill
like,
that into your head.
You
so
don't
weird
get
to
it.
actually call
You don't
by
get
her
it. This guy's a
real
fucking
last name.
artist. Yeah. But yeah, I think just for the sole character of Cameron, I think Ferris Bueller's Day Off is the strongest one.
Yep. Cool.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, this has been a fantastic episode of Talking Shit. I believe this actually might have been my favorite episode. thank you guys so much for joining us. Remember, this is BGG's weekly podcast where the three of us bring in random topics of discussion, and we talk some shit about those topics. If you like that, again, head on over to patreon.com/BGG. Give us $1 a month. You get every full episode early in audio MP3 form, and you get an exclusive episode every month, which is a pretty good deal. But if you don't like good deals or simply can't afford them, that's okay. Talking Shit so rolls out the following week over on youtube.com/BayozonaGamers, broken out topic by topic Monday through Thursday before the entire MP3 version of the show is up on our SoundCloud page. And you might be thinking, wow, Barrett, there's a lot of different places to go to. Is there one place that I can get all of this content at? Yes, bzgamers.com, because we couldn't get bzg.com. Alex O'Neill. That's what I get for telling him that Digimon, the movie, was the best anime. Thank you guys.
Yeah, it's a band.
This was a good episode. I really like this one. I think this one is worth $1.
I needed to do the podcast for my week.
Yeah. Thank you guys so much for joining us, and until next time, keep talking shit. Thank you.